Yes. So this is my 36th video on analysis in the playlist of UPSC Maths Optional. So far what you are doing is you have been solving the previous year's question papers on real analysis from 2018 to 1992. So in that way we have finished 2018, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10 and now we are in 2009, right? So this in 2009 we have solved 3 problems in the last 2 videos, right? So the 35th video or 34th video is the problem based on Rolle's theorem, and in the previous video we have seen that so that the series convergent, we have used Gauss test to show that the series is convergent. So we will use Gauss test when the ratio test fails, and now we are in the 4th and also I have given the clue for how to do the 3rd problem. So now we are in the 4th problem is a theorem, right? Show that a bounded infinite subset of R must have a limit point. This is one of the very important theorem in analysis. And if you have seen the question paper, we have 90% are problems, 10% are only theorems, right? So you should be very happy that that the UPSC is not asking more theorems in analysis. So their point of question is mainly based on problems from analysis, right? So 90% of questions, that is from part 1 to part 35, you can see 90% of questions are problems, only 10% are theorems, right? So these two are theorems. This video and next video is also the theorem. So this theorem is known as Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem. It's a very important theorem. So you please, I'll recommend you to watch this video very carefully and don't skip this video, right? Because this is a theorem. If you skip the video, you will miss some important point when I'm telling, because we have to write the proof for this theorem, right? So writing proof is an art, right? It is not that easy, and understanding proof is also an art, so it is not that easy also. So we'll get back into this theorem, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, so please subscribe. Yeah. So show that a bounded infinite subset of R must have a limit point. So before getting into the statement of the theorem, first I'll explain 3 definitions. First one is what is meant by limit point, and what is meant by infimum, and what is meant by supremum. You already know what is meant by infimum and supremum, but I'll explain with the definition. So first I'll explain what is meant by a limit point, right? After explaining limit point, we will discuss about the statement theorem. A point P belongs to R is called a limit point of a subset S of R if every neighborhood of P has a point of S other than P, right? So it's very easy. Suppose let us say this is a real line. So this is our real line. This is minus infinity and this is plus infinity, right? So this is our real line R. Now let us take a subset and call that subset as S. So this is our S, right? So suppose if you want to say a point P is a limit point, suppose if I want to say this point is a limit point, what we have to do is we have to take a neighborhood of that point. Let us say this neighborhood. If this neighborhood contains a point of S other than P, then that point is called limit point, right? So I'm sure that you will not understand. So I'll explain this with the definition. I'll explain with the example, right? So let us take our S to be let us take S to be equal to natural number, right? Yes. So our a point P, so this is our natural number. So natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So this is our S now. And if I want to say if this point is a limit point, let us say P is equal to 2 as of now. Now you take now if I want to say this point is a limit point, what you have to do is you take some neighborhood. Neighborhood means you take some open interval around that point. If this neighborhood contains a point other than 2, right? So if every neighborhood of P has a point of S other than P, but you can see there is none of the point other than 2 are here. There are some points, it may be 1.8, 1.9, 2.1, 2.2 will be here, but there is no point of s because s is our natural number. So in this neighborhood there is no natural number, so therefore this point is not a limit point, right? So again, if I take p is equal to 3 here, if I take p is equal to 3 here, you take a small neighborhood around that p. If this neighborhood contains a point other than 3, there are infinitely many points other than 3, but that point is not, any of the point is not in S. The definition is very careful that every neighborhood of P has a limit point of S. This is very important. You should have a point of S. There are points, there are infinitely many points here, but none of them are in S. What is our S? Our S is a natural number. So therefore, if you take any real number, right? So it is not necessary that P should be in S. Suppose if I take P to be is equal to minus 3, then if I take a small neighborhood of the point, you can see that this neighborhood has none of the point other than minus 3. So therefore this point is also not a limit point. So what will happen if I take S is equal to R, right? If I take S is equal to R, then what will happen? Let's take S is equal to integer. Let us take S is equal to integer. So our S is now integer 1, 2, 3 and minus 1, minus 2 and minus 3, etc. So again, if I take a point 0, if I want to say 0 is a limit point, you take a small neighborhood around that point. If this neighborhood contains a point other than 0, then this will be a limit point. But you can see none of them here are integers, all are rational numbers. So therefore again 0 is not a limit point. Suppose if I take S is equal to R, S is equal to R, then every point will be a limit point, because if you take a point 1 and if you take a small neighborhood, then this all points are belongs to our set S, because our set S is natural real numbers. So therefore if this is real number, then every point is a limit point. Let us consider the interval 1, 2. So what will be the limit point of this interval? This interval is that all numbers that are in between 1 and 2, all real numbers that are between 1 and 2. So you can see that if you want to say this is a limit point, you take a small neighborhood. If this neighborhood contains a point other than this point, then we say it is a limit point. Surely there are some points, these points are inside this. So therefore in open interval every point is a limit point, right? So limit point is very important. So if I want to say, if you want to say a point is limit point, you take a small neighborhood, and if this neighborhood contains a point of S other than P, then that point is called a limit point. So there can be infinitely many limit points. If S is equal to R, then every point is a limit point. So therefore there are infinitely many limit points, right? And the important result is a finite set has no limit point. So let us say our set is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I want to say if 3 is a limit point, you take a small neighborhood of that P. So you can see that, let us say this neighborhood is 3 point, let us take epsilon to be equal to 0.1, then this is 3.1 and this is 2.9. So therefore there is no other point, other than 3, because this set contains only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has to contain other than 3, it has to contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you can see in this interval there is no point which is 1, 2, 3 or 4 or 5. So therefore a finite set has no limit point. Yes, so I know, I assume that you know what is my limit point now. So now we will get back to our theorem now. Show that a bounded infinite subset of R, right? A bounded infinite subset of R. So first our subset has to be bounded. So therefore we cannot take our subset to be equal to n. If I take this n, this is not bounded, because it is bounded below by 1, but it is not bounded above. So this theorem does not valid for n. So what will happen if I take z? Again this is not bounded. So whenever if you want to take a bound subset of R, you always think that of an interval. So this every interval is bounded in R. So suppose it is bounded and also an infinite set, because this is an infinite set, right? It's an interval. If this is a bounded infinite set, then it must have a limit point. Surely it has infinitely many limit points, right? So this is our theorem now. So a bounded infinite subset of R must have a limit point. So what will happen if we neglect the condition bounded? Then infinite subset of R must have a limit point, which is wrong, right? So far we are seeing that this natural number has no limit point. No point is limit point for natural number. If you drop this condition, the theorem will be invalid. If you add this condition, bounded infinite subset of R, then that set must have a limit point. So the second definition is infimum. The set of all upper bounds. So infimum is nothing but, let us say this is our interval 1, 2. Now we can see that there are infinitely many points that are greater than 2, right? There are infinitely many points. It can be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All can be a possible upper bound. All can be a possible upper bound. And there are infinitely many points that are less than 1, right? 0, -1, -2, -3, etc. So every point are possible candidates for upper bound. So the upper bound can be 2, 3, 4, 5, anything can be an upper bound, right? But of all the upper bounds, which is the least? Of all the upper bounds, which is the least? 2 is the least. Of all the lower bounds, which is the greatest? Greatest is 1. Remember, of all the upper bounds, which one is least? 2 is the least. Of all the lower bounds, which one is greatest? 1 is the greatest. Then of all the upper bounds, the least upper bound is called the supremum. Of all lower bounds, the greatest lower bound is called the infimum. That's it, right? So we will get on to definition now. The set of all lower bounds of a set S. So these are the lower bounds. As a greatest number, let us say T. Here it is 1. Then T is called the greatest lower bound, or it is called infimum. Right? Of all the upper bounds, the smallest member of all the upper bounds, the smallest member is 2. So therefore, this 2 is called the least upper bound or supremum. Right? So these two are very important, and this is a property that is being followed by infimum supremum. So if I say this number is infimum, suppose if I take 1, if I say 1 is infimum, then 1 is always less than or equal to x for all x in the set S. For all x in S. So suppose if this is our set S, then every element of that set will always be less than or equal to 1, because it is the infimum of the set, right? If I take this is the supremum, then all the elements will always be what? This is the greatest of all the elements. Therefore, x is always less than or equal to S for all x. If I say it is an infimum, T is always less than or equal to x for all x. This is a mathematical way of representing an infimum, and this is satisfied. Given epsilon greater than 0, however small, there exists y in S. Suppose let us take epsilon is equal to, this is our epsilon. So let us say this is our let us say this is our infimum, and let us say this is our supremum. So you take however small, you take epsilon to be equal to 0.00001. So let us take this is our epsilon, this is our epsilon. So this is our t plus epsilon, right? So this distance is epsilon, and this is our t plus epsilon. So given epsilon greater than 0, there exists y. However small you take, there exists y in between t and t plus epsilon. That is what the property, right? So however, given epsilon greater than 0, however small, there exists some y belongs to S such that this y is always less than or equal to t plus epsilon. Even if you take epsilon to be equal to 0.0000010 lakh 0 and 1, so distance between this and this is very very small, even though there exists some point in between t and t plus epsilon such that this is less than t plus epsilon. And again for supremum, for epsilon greater than 0, however small, so let us take our epsilon to be equal to here, however small, this is our S plus epsilon, this S minus epsilon, right? So if we have S here, let us take epsilon to be equal to very small, so this is our S minus epsilon, and this distance is epsilon. So there exists some y, there exists however small, there exists y in S that y is greater than S minus epsilon. So you can see however small you can take, you can always find y. You can always find y in between this, and this y will always be greater than S minus epsilon. So these two are the definition which you must be very careful. So before getting into our theorem, so these three are the very basic result. And what the completeness axiom theorem says is that every non-empty subset of R which is bounded above as supremum. Suppose if it is bounded above, then it will have a supremum, and if it is bounded below, then it will have a infimum. That is what the completeness axiom says. So every subset of R which is bounded above as supremum, and if it is bounded below, it has infimum. Axiom means a statement without proof, right? So it seems to be very natural, but there is no proof for that. So axiom means a statement without proof, right? So completeness axiom says is that every non-empty subset of R which is bounded above a supremum, and if it is bounded below, then we'll have infimum. So these four results are very important getting into our theorem. So if you haven't understand any one of the definition, kindly comment, because if you understand this four definition only, we can prove this theorem, right? So in the next video we'll get down to the proof of the theorem, because it's already 16 minutes, so I don't want to get more time into that. So if I'll recall you again, a point P is called limit point. If you take a small neighborhood around that P, if this neighborhood contains a point other than this, then that point is called a limit point, and infimum and the supremum are easy concepts. So that's it. In the next video we'll get down to the proof of Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, that every infinite bounded subset of R as a limit point. So in the next video we'll go on to the proof.